recommend a prayer by Pastor Julie.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with a heart full of gratitude for the privilege of gathering as leaders and community members to serve the village of Blissfield. We acknowledge your wisdom and guidance in all things, and we seek your presence in our discussions and decisions. Grant us clarity of mind, patience in our deliberations, and a spirit of unity as we work together for the good of our community. Help us to listen with understanding, speak with kindness, and act with integrity. May our efforts bring justice, peace, and prosperity to all who call this village home. Especially, please give us a broad mind and love to care for those who are economically and mentally marginalized and in need in our village, so that we may all become true good neighbors who can help, comfort, and encourage each other as children of God. Bless our residents, our leaders, and all those who serve this community. As they work for this town, may the Lord open the gates of heaven and bless their lives, their careers, and their families. May God's grace, wisdom, and fairness be with all those gathered for this evening's meeting, and may this meeting be conducted graciously in the Lord. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. All right, go ahead, start with roll call, Lisa.
Mike Gunner.
Here.
Gwen Dusa.
Here.
Bill Gritzmaker. Sherry Luce.
Here.
Ken Nichols.
Here.
Eric Rogers.
Here.
Timothy Waters.
Present. Everybody, first up on the agenda are to approve minutes from our previous meeting, January 27th.
I move to approve the minutes of January 27th, 25 as presented. I'll support.
Motion Gwen, second Sherry, to approve the minutes of January 27th, 2025 as presented. Any discussion or question? Hearing none, Lisa, call roll.
Eric.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Ken.
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes.
Gwen.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. Motion carries. Next on the agenda are the presentations and communications. We do have some discussion or some information from Danielle regarding property near 50th Street 323.
I included that information. It was requested under a public comment was made a couple meetings ago. I had shared that with you guys in my weekly summary, but just wanted to share that information with the public as well. But if you have questions about that, let me know.
So essentially at this time, Danielle, there's, for lack of better words, there's nothing that we can do to address some of the concerns residents have had due to the past way it was set up.
I did, yes, and no, maybe. I did talk to David Lacoste, our attorney, about this today, to see if we had any avenue to hopefully work with the property owner to get some of this addressed. And he did have an idea, but I don't have enough information to share that with you guys, and I don't want to share something that isn't fully accurate, or I don't have all the information myself. So with that being said, right now, we are limited because a special use was granted, but we are looking to see if there's any alternative solutions to help maybe get some of that mediated, and I will certainly keep you guys informed as I learn a little bit more. This is very newly developed.
And this is something obviously you're discussing with Dave and then kind of go from there.
Yes,
Gotcha.
Even though in the minutes from the planning commission meeting, about a minimum of 7 feet and a maximum of whatever the tallest item is behind the fence, if that would be, is that not an ordinance? Does that make sense?
So under the current, that it is something I talked to Dave about too, is the fencing, but under current ordinance, 7-foot fences are only allowed in industrial zones, and then within commercials or anywhere else in the village with the side property and rear, it's 6 feet. Front is even lower, it's 30 feet, but I'm hoping, I think that Dave has potentially a good solution, but again, I need to try to work through some more things with him, and more information will be coming. But I said it when that citizen had come forward, I said that I would share this information, and I didn't want to delay that any further with what we had and what has kind of been our struggle thus far, I guess.
And so we're in February now, would you assume that too soon to, let's say, mid-March, end of March, having an idea of what?
I will have, yes, so I will not be at the next meeting, so I will have an update to you guys by the March 10th. meeting,
March 10th,
absolutely.
okay, that's, thanks, Danielle. Yes.
So more of an update, it sounds like it's still in a work in progress. Have you
Yes.
talked with the property owners recently about?
We have not recently talked to them. We spoke with them. It's been a little bit, but I will be reaching out to them again following my conversation with Dave as well.
And I agree, work with Dave, and obviously the ordinances can be interpreted different ways regarding, outside storage, abandoned vehicles, all that kind of thing, the fence. Opaqueness is discussed, so I guess I would just say, be patient, we'll continue to work on it, whoever's having the complaints with it.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move on to the agenda. Need a motion to approve the agenda tonight as presented. We do have a request from staff that we delete number 8 for a future meeting, as that's gonna have some reloading.
I move to amend and approve the agenda for tonight, removing item number 8.
Support. A motion, Eric, second Tim, to approve the amended agenda, removing item number 8 for February 10th, 2025. Any discussion? Not Lisa, call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is large public comment. If there's any member of the public who do wish to address council, we just ask that you approach the podium, state your name for the record. Yes, sir.
Carl Harbeck. What's amazing is that as of February 2nd, I've been in this village 30 years. It's amazing, So anyway, I noticed in the advanced paper that we got a $50,000 grant for ordinances to be updated. And I guess that's my comment tonight about ordinances. What is the process of the village to either delete an ordinance, to change an ordinance, or to add an ordinance? Is there a process? Could you maybe quickly explain it to me? What is that process? If anybody can.
You talking planning or just ordinances in general, or any kind of?
Just in general, like weed height, or maybe barking dogs, or whatever the ordinance problems we have, signs in public right of way, all the ordinances we have for various things. And in fact, I read the paper that something about dance hall stuff that possibly you wanted to delete or something. I'm not sure all the details, but because I don't think Blissfield has any dance halls right now, but anyway. But if we wanted to add an ordinance or take one away, what is the process? How long does that take?
Danielle, what you doing?
So there's actually 2 answers to this. Our zoning ordinance, which is chapter 216, is a little bit more in depth because it is governed under the planning commission as well as the village council. So any amendment to 216, which is what the grant funding was received for, specifically the zoning ordinance, would go through the planning commission with a public notice, public hearing. They would then make a recommendation to council, who would have public notice, public hearing at their meeting, and then would adopt. It would become effective upon publication. That one's, that's going to be very detailed, and we're looking at a complete overhaul of the entire chapter, which there's a substantial amount of items in there. So there will be a lot of public engagement components to that as well. Yes, thank you, sorry. Now, if it's not zoning, which is all of our other chapters outside of the 216, then it does not have to go to the planning commission and would just come before council. And that's whether it's a deletion, addition, or an amendment. So by statute, we're required to provide 15-day public notice prior to holding the public hearing. This council would hold a public hearing soliciting any feedback from its residents, and then potentially repeal, amend that ordinance, or add a completely new ordinance as well. Now, and before it's ready to come to council, it would take a staff member actually making the changes or drafting what that would look like, so that when council is reviewing it, they can see specifically what those either repeals or amendments entail.
Because speaking of all the ordinances, I talked with Maddie last week and I asked her what she has to go through to deal with things that I brought up to and others have with complaints and stuff. And it's my thought that we need to, if possible, streamline dealing with the violations somehow. For instance, I've got a neighbor next door that's a rental, and they have a dog pen in the backyard. The chief probably heard about this numerous times, and 4 of us have called, and the barking, it's not the dog's fault, but they're in a 9x9 pen most of the time. They're lonely. They see me outside and they bark, and I wait, hey guys, you know, but they're bored and they're lonely. They're out there all the time, but it's sad, you know, but they bark an awful lot. And it's been an ongoing problem that has not been solved. I don't think they've been ticketed with any kind of financial ticket so far. That I guess that they've been warned, because they keep letting dogs go on. And I've had a conversation with the girl who lives there, young couple in her 20s, and it didn't work out too good. There are numerous problems over there with mowing the lawn and what they're supposed to do, and it just doesn't, it's not going well, and the neighborhood is not real happy. So anyway, so it's like we haven't been able to deal with the barking dog problem, and he goes on a lot. It's not the dog's fault, but what Maddie has to do when she deals with that, or there's another neighbor who put out his Christmas tree probably January 17th or whatever. He puts it out there. Well, we all know that in, you know, this time of the year it gets picked up once a month, the second Tuesday of the month. So it's not going to get picked up until the 11th. He's got it out like 3 weeks ahead of time. He knows, he's been told by the police. I've talked to him over the years, and it's out there. Then last Tuesday, he pumps another pile out next to it a week early. Like, this has been going on in our village a long time. I've talked with Brent, and he's frustrated too, that the people put up brush the next day after they pick it up. It's frustrating, and it's like, people, Blissfield provides a service picking up brush, and I don't think all towns do that. So we need to be thankful, and it really frustrates me is when they put it out, some of these people put out brush all across the whole front of their yard. They don't put it in small piles like I do. So DPW can flip it in the bucket and get out of there. So they gotta get that claw thing, and that's probably why they bought it, to pick it up and clean up the mess. And put it on small piles, people. Think about the DPW, make it easy. But they don't even do that, and then there are people that put it out. It's out all over the village all the time, especially in the summertime. So it's frustrating going through our village and seeing the violations. We also have in the West End a couple properties that are putting out garbage on Wednesday. And it's frustrating for me and others, and Maddie explains to me, okay, Carl comes and says, okay, such and such is, okay, she gets a picture, she sends him a letter. So it takes 3 days to get the, okay, so 3 days later, then they have 10 days to respond. Well, by the time the 10 days is up, we've already picked up the brush. The problem is that this neighbor's been out there for 3 weeks. And it makes our village look run down. It's like, and there's too much of this going on. There's too much of these problems like signs in the right of way. Last summer, there was a roofing company had some signs up, talked to Maddie, called the company, and they didn't do a thing about it. And it's like, I'm thinking if we can maybe streamline the process and to turn into those little violations where Maddie can write out a ticket, give it to the officer drops it off at the house, they get ticketed the very same day they're violating, instead of having to wait 10 days until something happens. In fact, recently, right over here, next to the parking lot across the street from the Eichson house, was 2 ceiling fans, somebody just dumped off there. So talked to Maddie, she said she would deal with it. I had to drop some stuff off the Eichson's house, that they weren't home. I called Andrea later and said, hey, I dropped something off. I said, by the way, what's going across? She said, yeah, what are you doing there? So she said, well, she said, she had access to a dumpster and she gets, or there's a scrapper. She knows they're coming. Okay. And then I went home and I said, hey, I'm going out to Adrian. Why don't I pick it up and take it out to Habitat? They were perfectly good, I guess. By the time I got there, they were gone. So I don't know if Andrea took care of it or Maddie did, but it got cleared up like that. And that's the way I like to see things done as soon as possible. Make this village clean, because that's why nice towns around are so nice, like Northville and Plymouth and Wyandotte and Ypsilanti where I go, because they really enforce, but we don't have a full-time ordinance person. Maddie has got 6 different jobs. Danielle knows. I talked to her about poor Maddie, she works hard, nice person. She's doing the best she can, but her hands are tied with this stuff that should be dealt with like that. So anyway, the bottom line, and shut up now, but it's a serious problem because it makes our village look run down. People talk about that. There's other problems too, but it makes our village look run down. We need to clean this town up. Make it look nice. And this is a major problem. These ordinances that are not enforced, they can't be because of the process. So if we could somehow make it so that these ordinances like that Maddie could simply streamline, write out a ticket, give it to an officer, he goes and slaps it at the house. Because I don't think she feels comfortable going to a house and giving a ticket. And, so, I understand that, but time wise for her, she doesn't have the time to do it. So if an officer just drop it off and ticket him, I don't know about that. She's probably sitting there going, more work for me, I don't know, but.
No,
But
a lot of what you're saying is inaccurate. Okay, Maddie does not go out to serve tickets, we do that. And
No,
there's no delay in the process.
I'm not saying she does, I'm saying, that's not something she does, and I'm saying that
No,
officers
she
could
does
do it. but-
We do that.
Oh, okay,
We do, and we do issue tickets.
oh, okay, good. But there's so much of this stuff that, like, the brush has been out there for 3 weeks,
See,
and,
and excuse me for interrupting.
oh, good.
Just because we write the ticket doesn't mean that they clean up the mess,
I know, you're right,
okay?
I agree.
That's a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
And that's another step that has to be addressed. Not by the police department. And then I would defer to Danielle on that. But if you want to get into the removal portion of it, it is a whole other hurdle. And there's a whole lot of issues that go on there. People still have their Fourth Amendment rights to be secure in their properties, even with this type of thing. So there are legal hurdles that we have to go through if we're gonna enter somebody's property and start removing anything.
It sounds like it should be that simple, but it's exactly that.
Yeah,
There
that's
are
what I'm trying to
always,
find out, I'm here to
Yeah.
find out from my information.
right,
Can we do something better and different, because it's frustrating seeing the stuff at the curb. In fact, there was a house down in the east end had a big pile of stuff there last Wednesday out there for the garbage sitting out there. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it's a rental next to Lena's there. Big pile of stuff on the curb. It's like, it's not trash day yet. What's it doing out there, So I don't know if it's still there or not, but.
and to address what's being stated here, is this, the survey and the project, that information has been shared on the website or not quite yet? Can you,
For the ordinance?
for the village, or the ordinance, the Village of Blissfield zoning project?
It has been shared, but you're talking about something completely different. So what violations he's referring to are not part of the zoning ordinance.
They would then be part of the 216.
Correct. They are outside of the 216. That
Okay.
being said, We did do an ordinance amendment for the penalties with the civil infractions, and we are writing more tickets than we ever have under that new ordinance. Furthermore, we are amending a ton of ordinances. In fact, I sent you 20, probably, maybe more than 20 ordinances that I have drafted that will be coming before council that, probably 70% of those talk about what is the penalty for violating. So we are making progress. Speed of government, unfortunately, we have to go through, like, and Chief said this already, but we have to go through that process. And we don't, our goal is never to violate somebody's rights. We want to put them on notice. The other thing that we have actively done, and I've talked about this numerous times, is we always want to educate people. So our goal is not to come out and put the hammer down. We want to make sure that they're aware of the ordinance. And Maddie does a really good job at this. She sends those letters, she sends photos, so they know specifically what it is. And then if they continue repeating, then we're saying, okay, officers, we need to issue a ticket here because the warning and the education component didn't work. And that's not something this council can direct staff to not do the education component. It's not something I would advocate for because we want to work with our residents. We want it to be a partnership to have these things cleaned up so our community does look good.
And we also need a little more context. There's one property. We wrote the ticket. We actually took the owner to court. The court, not the police department, not the village, the court gave them time to clean it up. They cleaned up part of it, they didn't clean up all of it. We had to go back out, take more pictures, go back to the village attorney, make another motion, have another court hearing. That takes a lot of time.
I
So
understand.
unfortunately, we're out there, we're writing the ticket, but they've got due process and we have to go to court on these things. And the judges like to give people time to clean up their mess even after we gave them time. So then if the person's still found in violation, then we have to get a court order to enter the property to do it ourselves. So it's a convoluted process. It's not as simple as just writing the ticket and the problem goes away sometimes, unfortunately.
I'm a realist and I understand. I'm basically here to ask questions and, since all this is going on with ordinances, and I know Maddie just not.
There is a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm here, because it's not just me, but I got other people I talk to see it too, and it's like, what can we do? And that's why I'm here, while we're gonna do all the ordinance stuff. To come here and bring up, what I see, what I deal with, and.
And even on your kennel complaint, we have talked to animal control about that. We have investigated that. We've talked to the prosecutor's office. And we've gotten an assessment on what we can and cannot do. So,
In fact, I think what I'll do next is I'll call the landlord. And have a talk with him. I haven't done that yet. I tried to work with the people, but, but anyway, I guess I'll just.
We do appreciate your concerns, and the majority of us, I'm sure, have the same concerns.
Frustrations
Regarding
about
blight,
the time.
regarding that kind of thing. Just, I would, ask you to be patient, but
Oh.
continue to follow the process, if it's dogs or whatever, call the police.
please keep calling us.
Yes,
We-
absolutely.
Okay,
It doesn't get ignored. It may
well, I
seem
know
like
that, it's just that, I understand.
Yeah, we do investigate every complaint we get, so.
I'm a realist and, I understand the processes. I've been involved with towns in the past, so I know, but I know there's a process and but you gotta keep at it.
We have been updating the ordinances, like Daniel alluded to, the past 2-3 years. We've been spending a lot of time trying to update, get rid of the obsolete and clean them up to make it work better for the village, so.
But if we can
are-
bring the weed level from 12 to 8, I'd really appreciate that.
We can discuss that at some point. Appreciate it.
That's too high, that's all. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else cares to address council? All right, now we'll move on to unfinished business. Anybody have anything? New business, I got payroll. The motion for that one.
Move council to approve the payroll register for January 2025 in the amount of $202,794.64.
Motion second Sherry to approve the payroll register for January of 2025 in the amount of $202,794.64. Any discussion? Hearing none, Lisa, call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, motion carries. Next up are the accounts payable and monthly bills, $206,822.73.
I move to approve accounts payable for the period of January 14th, 2025 to February 11th, 2025, in the amount of, $206,822.73.
Support.
Motion Gwen, second Ken, to approve the accounts payable for the period of January 14th, 2025, February 11th, 2025, the amount of $206,822.73. Any questions or comments on the bill? Not Lisa, call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, motion carries. Up next on the agenda, we do have a fee waiver request to be from the school. Got some representatives. We got Scott and Dave. Hello, gentlemen.
How's it going?
How are you? We did have a subcommittee just for council, reminder that we did. Me, Gwen, Ken, and myself met with the Scotts and Danielle regarding this, so I'll let Scott address it here at the.
Yep, and I appreciate you guys taking the time. Danielle worked with us a ton, constantly get numbers back and forth on the water reads with irrigation and all the buildings. That's been really good. And then, when we first heard about the elementary school, it was on a read date and it was really high. So then Brent sent one of the guys back out the next day and it was reading something like 18,000 gallons a day, it was high. We should be like 3,000 to 4,000 a day, give or take. And so Brent called me right away. I went over, me and my guys checked the building. At the elementary, every water line is in the ceiling. So if there was a leak, we would know there was a leak. Because everybody would be wet. And then it's possible, some of the toilets, we've talked about toilets getting stuck open, they're slowing valves. I don't know how to explain them when those get stuck open, water spraying out of the toilet. So teachers let me know right away. Plus they couldn't run all night. I have janitors there till 11 every night. They're the last ones in the building and they clean the bathrooms. That's one of the last things they do. So we just were watching the meter. We really didn't do anything. And within like a day and a half, 2 days, it just slowed down. Nothing happened, nothing changed. We didn't do anything different. And it just slowed down. Danielle had, I can't remember the company, but they came out, the two guys, they knew their stuff about water meters. So I don't question those two guys that were there. They tested the meter and that was reading within a variable accuracy. So that was good, but we still, and nothing's changed since then. And our meter's right back to, we're right in our average that we've been for years, pretty much, so.
And they do have a new meter now.
This was done
As
as
well, this is all, yes, everything he's talking about is under the old meters. That I did put in there, but it's.
So at the committee level, we did discuss, all of the different meters feeding the schools and the outbuildings, whatnot. It is a 4-inch dedicated meter only for the elementary school. Both our staff and school staff were out there. They did see the meter spinning oddly, and they did go back and see that it did stop at some point, but no changes to anything that was happening inside the school. So what they are asking for is a fee waiver of that water, based on the average use, which would be up to $3,051.72. Any questions for, I guess, any of the, Danielle or any of the committee members of the school?
Was this only at the elementary school, Scott?
Yes, because we actually have 5 meters. So the elementary is 100% just on its own. There's no outside lines that's fed from this, it's just the elementary.
It was also, during the time of the, water hydrant flushing. So there was not that opportunity to necessarily say, you know, it wasn't just the elementary. You know, we could say that that water for sure by itself, due to the flushing of the system.
We're thinking it's the meter that's faulty
I do not.
or was.
Well, we had the meter tested, it tested at 97.5% accuracy, which is actually in the school's favor. And it was tested by an external company, I think it's Waterworks is
something.
their name.
It's two older gentlemen. that-
It's included in your packet, I apologize, it's not in front of me. So and the same thing Scott said, he's saying, we all visually saw the meter spinning and water going through it. And the school doesn't just fix itself, and meters are the same way, they don't just fix themselves, so we don't know what happened. But we are requesting, we do have a really good partnership with the school. They are obviously publicly funded as well. We're working on, well, one, we continue to work on several things with them. But we are specifically working on the irrigation meter. We worked with Scott, who was able to get the new meters installed right away, so that moving forward, we know with these new meters, we're able to track daily, I mean, even hourly usage, but daily, and we can see those averages and flows. They're much more accurate. They don't have the internal components that the old meters have. And they actually had a compound meter at the elementary school, which means you actually have a high and a low read. They just have the one meter now with one read, so it simplifies the entire process, but we are just out of a partnership and to continue work with them, requesting that waiver up to, like Mike said, the $3,051.
Move council to waive $3,051.72 for Blissfield Community Schools based on the established partnership of both the village and school who provide essential services to our residents.
A motion, Tim, second, Sherry, to waive $3,051.72 for Blissfield Community Schools based on the established partnership. Both the village and school provide essential services to our residents. Further discussion?
I just thought that our meeting, with the three of us, as well as the Scotts and Dana, it was a productive meeting. There was a lot of discussion on some other avenues as well. And, certainly would support this.
And it's not to take light of, I guess, these phantom reads, which are frustrating, not only for the residents that we've had, some of the schools and ourselves. So hopefully this new meter system will better take care of this sort of problem in the future, when we're not trying to figure out what's going on with this water, you know, why are these reads being off, why are these meters spinning? So again, it's something that, you know, I know the public may not like it, but this is sort of the reason that we're trying to be more productive or update these meters so that we're getting better reads or getting more accurate reads, and we're not having these issues where people continue to come back to us and say, we have an inaccurate read. So we certainly want to, you know, we're cognizant of the water and sewer costs our residents. We want to do our best to be stewards of that, so it is continuously on the radar, that's for sure. Anybody else, any questions? If not, at least call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you guys for your consideration of this, and we definitely look forward to working together. There's a lot of things that we've got going on. Like the relationship that we've had the last 5 years has been great, so we want to keep it going, so thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, next on the agenda are council goals. This will just be a formal adoption of our previous committee meeting where we did discuss what we want to accomplish over the next 2 years. Danielle has consolidated all those. We have a formal setup here for us.
We'll move to adopt the fiscal year 25-26 village council goals and objectives as presented.
Support.
Motion one, second, Eric, to adopt the fiscal year 2025-26 village council goals and objectives as presented. Any questions or comments? You appreciate everybody's ideas for that. I think it's a good way to hold ourselves accountable. So thank you for that. Lisa, call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
yes,
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries. Next on the agenda would be a planning commission board appointment. Heather Marks' position did expire, but she is willing to continue. Planning commission board did recommend that she retain that seat, so we would have her need a motion to allow her to continue to do so.
I move to appoint Heather Marks to the planning commission with a term ending October 31st of 2028.
I'll support that.
Or Sherry, second, Eric. To reappoint Heather Marks to the planning commission with a term ending October 31st, 2028, as recommended by the planning commission. Any comments? That Lisa, call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes,
Sherry,
Yes.
Yes.
Mike,
That motion carries. Next will be, we have a few updates of policy revisions from the police department. First one on the agenda is the use of weapons policy. Chief, I'll turn it over to you if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, this is really just some housekeeping stuff. The weapons policy, up to the part of the use of force policy, and it really deals with the types of weapons how we pick weapons, securing the ammunition, intermediate weapons, that sort of thing. And that was more mechanical than, say, the use of force, which was how we employ those weapons. And we talked about it last time we revised the policy about breaking it out. And we did, last month, we did our in-service training, and again, we went over the use of force policy. And there was some more discussion, and we thought it was a good idea to go ahead and break that out into a separate policy. So really, we just took the mechanical portion of the use of force and separated it to weapons policy. Tweaked it a little bit. It's pretty much the same with all three of these policies. Yeah, use of force, there's no fundamental changes there. It really was some formatting, updating some of the language. But nothing fundamental changed as far as how we employ the force. We're still, policy still focuses on excited delirium, position asphyxia, being cognizant of that, and part of our annual training that we do. So we're very cognizant of that sort of thing. When it came to use of force, obviously, there's more of an emphasis now in dealing with what we call mentally disturbed persons. We're focusing more and more training on that, even at the state level. The state directly some training that way. So, as these things develop, just housekeeping, time to time, we want to update these policies. So that was the use of force and the weapons, and the third one was the police, the motor vehicle operations. And there again, when we went through it, we saw some formatting when we were doing the training, and just felt that we needed to tweak it a little bit. That was when I did that one a few years ago, the last time we did it, it was a massive overhaul, and there's a lot in that policy. It's an extensive policy. We even focused on what the laws are in the state of Ohio, if we happen to go into Ohio to pursue, to include that information on policy. So it's extensive, and as you develop a policy and you start training out on it, through discussion and trial and error, you sometimes see, hey, maybe we need to tweak that language a little bit here, or maybe move that over here. And that's really all we kind of did with these things. Also with the motor vehicle operations, the big one that we added in there was idling. And what we, through frustration the last few years, we are adamant that we are on top of vehicle maintenance. I mean, we get oil changes religiously. We check the tires monthly. All the fluids get changed when they're supposed to, and we somehow managed to blow 2 engines over the years, in the last few years. In talking to mechanics and talking to engineers, actually, at one of the manufacturers, what we determined was it was the idling was killing the engines. Sitting out here in the parking lot in the middle of summer was cooking them. Those turbos just can't handle sitting there without the airflow. So I did a general order maybe a year and a half ago It said no more unmanned idling of the cars. If you're not in it, you gotta shut it down. It's kind of a drag because when you shut the car off, you shut the computers off, you shut the cameras off. And it can take 10 to 15 minutes to get all those systems up and running again. But I'm sorry, we can't be replacing anything like we were. So, that was the major thing that we wanted to put into the policy. The order had been standing out there for a while. So I just wanted to incorporate it in the policy now.
When you say we, you're referring to yourself and all of the,
Officers.
all the officers, that was my assumption.
When I say we, yeah, we were doing the in-service training, to go over these policies. These are the big ones, you know, pursuit policy, use of force, workplace harassment. What I was told Jake, will get sued. So these are the ones I make sure we go over at least once a year. And it's good because the officers, you know, even talking with the officers, we talk about real world, what's going on out there. And we do this all the time, and we've revised this policy a number of times. And it's just, it's a living document. Things come up and we talk about it, in group, and we go, you know what, that makes sense. And sometimes we just have to tweak a few things. The idling was the big thing I brought to the table. The guys groaned about it, but they get it. You know, the engines are very, like, so on that, 17 Explorer, it was $10,000 to put a new engine in that. The Charger, when they had 25,000 miles, we had to put a new engine in it. Thankfully, that was under warranty. But again, it's like, how are we blowing an engine? You know, we're changing oils, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Well, it turns out idling filled those cars. So we modified our policy to, you know, save them and save ourselves money.
Not to drag this out, chief, obviously, you know, you need to update your procedures, policies as you guys do things and through experience. A lot of it, I think I've heard you claim in the past is some of the bureaucratic oversight as well. How much of that entails you updating these yearly, monthly, et cetera?
Not bureaucratic. Well, with these types of policies, use of force and pursuit, a lot of it, if we have major revisions coming out of case law, it's what the appellate courts are deciding, and those carry a ton of weight. And those really do steer the way we operate. And I mean, that's just historically, if you look at Miranda rights, they came out of a court case. Terry stops, you know, a lot of things we do are coming out of Supreme Court cases. The way we do the business, the courts are telling us how to do that. So as they make decisions, we have to look at those and look at our policy and see, do we need to amend the policy? So as those things happen, we certainly, you know, look at that. And with use of force, there are always court decisions coming down. So we monitor that, we hone the training to meet those standards. Like we saw, you know, out in Minneapolis with the George Floyd case. That practice that was employed there, which was actually part of their policy. What you saw on video was actually part of their department policy to an extent. In the state of Michigan, we had gotten away from that years ago. There's something we call positional asphyxia. Put somebody on the ground in handcuffs with their hands behind the back. You start putting pressure on their back, they can't breathe. Well, we recognized that years ago, and we train on that. We physically train on that. I will actually put an officer around, put the handcuffs, and just put my hand, a little bit of pressure on their back. You can feel it pretty quick. So, and we train on the reaction, because what was happening with that historically is you put somebody in that position, you start putting pressure on their back. Well, what are they gonna start doing? They're resisting. They're trying to get to a position to breathe. The officer saw that as resisting. They were applying more force. So then we have force escalating to the point where somebody dies, and all the guys trying to breathe. So we train on positional asphyxia. That's in a policy. Now we talk about excited delirium, something new, and it's still controversial. There's still a mixed bag of thought on that. Personally, I'm a firm believer in it. I have seen it. We've seen it here in the village. I'm a firm believer that is a medical emergency, and we train on that. Some people may say, well, it's made up medicine or whatever, but if it saves lives, who cares? So, you know, again, we're looking at what's happening out in the real world. How's that affecting our policies? We got a ton of stuff coming down with the lead police, lead field services with state police, and they're getting stuff coming to them from the Department of Justice on the criminal justice information systems, all the electronics, the data storage and the way we manage that, even our physical facilities. Every year, we're just tripping ourselves trying to keep up with that. And it's not just us. New requirements are coming down the pipe. I'm in constant communication with Lansing. And I'll say, okay, well, they're requiring this new list. What's the list look like? We don't know. Nobody's created it yet. So we'll take a stab at it. I sent them a list last week. I said, hey, this is according to the description they gave. I created this list. What do you think? They said, actually looks pretty good. We're gonna mill around up here and pass around, see, and we'll get back to you. That's where we're at with some of the stuff. The US Department of Justice is saying you've got to do all these things, but nobody's ever seen it before. So we're really chasing our tails at sometimes, and that's where we spend a lot of time with the bureaucracies with the criminal justice information systems. And having said all that, it is important. The last thing we want is a data breach. We do not want to lose data. Obviously, we have a lot of sensitive data on our residents and other people, businesses. We don't want that out. So I'm a firm believer in what they're doing. We're on board with it. It's just trying to keep up with sometimes can be a challenge. But that stuff, that's killing me right now. So this is easy.
Thank you. We need a motion to adopt, looks like weapons first.
I move to authorize the weapons policy dated February 2025 as a policy of the Blissfield Police Department.
I'll support it.
Motion Sherry, second Tim, to authorize the weapons policy dated February 2025 as policy of Blissfield Police Department. Any questions on the weapons? Not Lisa, call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries. Up next is the motor vehicle operations policy update.
I move to authorize the motor vehicle operations and pursuit policy dated February 2025. The policy of the Blissfield Police Department.
Support.
Motion 1, second 10. To authorize the motor vehicle operations and pursuit policy dated February 2025 as the policy of Blissfield Police Department. Any comments? Not Lisa, call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. Great, 8's off the agenda. Number 9 would be the use of force policy.
I move to authorize the use of force policy dated February 2025 as a policy of the Blissfield Police Department.
I second.
Motion Eric, second Sherry, to authorize the use of force policy dated February 2025 as policy of the Blissfield Police Department. Any discussion? Hearing none, Lisa, call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, motion carries. Number 10 on the agenda would be a resolution to adopt a capital asset policy.
Another policy, the evening of policies. This capital asset policy is actually being presented to you guys. Our auditors came this year for our annual audit and recommended this one. It's not a requirement, but it is a practice. We already do these things. We just put it in a policy form so that it's documented. And we have that moving forward. Brandon was kind enough to get this drafted up for us, but if you have any questions about it, otherwise we are just looking for approval of current practice.
I move to approve the resolution adopting the capital asset policy as presented, effective immediately.
I'll support that.
Motion Glenn and a second Eric to approve the resolution adopting the capital asset policy as presented, effective immediately. Any questions or comments? At least call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries. And next is the final meter replacement notice. We've had some previous discussions on that. We do need to get these done. So Danielle, I'm assuming we want to decide how we go about the holdouts.
Yes, we are, I included this in the weekly summary, but for the residents as well, and I'm hoping to get some additional information out this week. We contracted with USG, who subcontracted with HydroCorp to install meters. And HydroCorp will not, that they have moved on to a different project or whatever it is they're doing, and USG has a new subcontractor coming in to complete the remainder of the meters. We are still waiting on some 3/4 meters that have been back ordered a few times. Those are supposed to be here at the end of the month. And we're hoping to get the remaining approximately 500 meters installed in the month of April. And again, I'll be sharing additional information with the residents. Of those 500, about 190 of them are the trailer park. So we do have about, again, approximately 300 residents that have not had their meter replaced for various reasons. This is not, I do want to be clear, all of them are not because they failed to schedule their appointments. Some of them are waiting for the 3/4. Some of them did not have a operable valve inside the home, or have a shut operable curb stop outside. DPW's been working hard to get those replaced. We of course do have significant frost depth right now, making that a little bit more challenging. Some of them maybe missed their appointment, some have not scheduled at all. So it's kind of a range of different issues. I just want to be fair to those who have attempted to schedule.
That's of the 300 remaining.
Correct, yes.
So this is the range for everybody there.
Yes. But with this new company coming in to complete the project for us or as a subcontractor for USG, they will be sending out notices again. And this really is the final notice. This is kind of our last push to get as many of these completed as possible. Whatever is not completed, our DPW has to install, but we have committed to pay USG for 1,554 meters. So we want them to get as close to that or all as much as possible. So I'm asking you guys before we send this last notice out, the subcontractor and USG have asked that we include some more firm language in the letter saying this is your final notice and failure to meet the requirement results in what. And so I'm bringing this to you guys for discussion to see what is non-compliance look like and what can we include so that we can include it in that letter and be upfront with our residents on that process. I talked to the contractor and some other communities who have done meter installs, and they have put in their final notice that they would shut off water. Most of the communities that I talked to reported that they were able to get nearly all or most lead compliance within their community. For example, one of the communities and I like to use them as an example because they just recently, they're about a year into their replacement, is Brooklyn. He said that they had about 3 residents in their community that they had to go in and replace, but the rest were done. So we're talking very small numbers here, which hopefully will be the same for Blissfield. And I will answer any questions that you have.
Do we have all the meters for the trailer park itself?
No, those are 3/4 meters. And really, I identified those because the trailer park they've been working with us. We've been going in and replacing those with Dan and Mike is his name.
And those.
Those 190 really are just a matter of getting the meters and getting them installed. Of those 300, there are individuals who have scheduled an appointment, but they're waiting on the 3/4 as well. And that's why of the 300, not all of them have said, we are not getting this meter installed.
Do you have a number?
Give it approximate.
That I know,
That are saying,
so there's 2 households that have specifically reached out saying, we are not scheduling this, we don't want to do it. And I believe I shared both of those. Well, one of them came and talked to you guys, and then I believe I shared the other one. Now, that being said, there may be others who think that, but they've not communicated that to me.
But the 4 mail notices getting out, those are from USG/HydroCorp at that time.
Correct, yes.
I then, okay.
Yes, HydroCorp has sent all of the notices to date. This will be the final one, but it is with a new subcontractor.
So we ourselves, the village itself has not sent out a letter.
We have not sent a letter, but the we did make numerous phone calls,
Right.
to residents and talk to them about this project and even helped a lot of them schedule appointments.
I just say that because you guys would have, it does state that your paperwork. What was there, so the other communities, when you talk to the USG staff, just simply use that the 4th letter in our case, this would actually be the 5th letter in our case, would be stating, essentially shut off the water unless we come up with another, meet with some of the other suggestions.
So they will send the letter regardless of whatever we do tonight, putting people on notice that you need to still get your meters scheduled or changed out. Here's the contact information or how to schedule that appointment. What we would like to include, we would like to be upfront with our residents and say, this is, we need to get them all installed, and failure to do so results in what? Just so that they know if they choose not to do it, which again, hopefully most of them will, that they know what that, yes. And they're not, because what I don't want to do is blindside them, and then after the fact, they're like, well, I would have done that had I known that was the consequence or the repercussions.
Well, simply from your financial impact, stating that doing nothing will result in a split system. I would think that council would agree that we have to do something, that we cannot just not do something. Exactly.
We don't do that.
We're not gonna go back on that one. So that takes that off the table.
Well, first off, my concern was with USG, how are these back ordered? We purchased these, you know, I mean, they should be here, right? In order for them to install them, they should have had this on hand, because now if they're not gonna be installed by them, we paid them to install 1,554. If they're gonna walk away, say, well, we didn't have them, it's gonna cost us time and money for the DPW to do it. That's unacceptable.
They're not walking away from installing them. So a couple of things on the 3/4 meters. We were provided information on the trailer park who purchased their meters that was not accurate sizing, which then resulted in an inaccurate number of 3/4 meters ordered. If you guys recall, prior to installing these meters, there was a significant wait time to get the meters in. So as soon as that was identified, which was at the beginning of the project, we ordered the additional 3/4 meter sizes that we needed. And then following that have had delays in orders. So it's kind of a combination of the two things.
But those costs, the costs that we paid up front or whatever are included with USG to install, was not on DPW time. So anything
Correct.
above and beyond past USG doing their installations in the village,
It's gonna be a new subcontract.
well.
It'll be additional
Well, even if
costs
it's
to
not
the
them,
village.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so people need to understand it's now, or you're gonna pay to have the DPW do it later on, because that, again, it's time and money, and that shouldn't fall on the rest of the water users. To quote, double pay to have those installed at a later date. DPW is busy enough, we all know that. And if we paid for this vendor, this contractor to do it, it needs to happen through them, otherwise the resident or the water user is gonna have to pay to have the DP. That's my philosophy. I don't think we should have to pay twice for that.
Yeah, and we would be, if whatever meters are not installed, we're paying USG and then we are paying to actually install them. Because our contract with USG is to replace all meters in Blissfield.
So you're stating like that could be also part of the letter, is that you're gonna be paying
This amount of
this
money
amount above and
Yeah, so
above
this
and
is
beyond.
this time,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah.
Once that vendor leaves
see what you're
town, then it's up to the DPW to install it. Well, you're gonna pay the
That
time.
is the time. Gotcha. First thing I'm, if USG has stated that other communities have said that they're gonna shut off the water, that's the route I would take.
I agree.
Do we
Shut
have,
off water.
do we have a anticipated time frame for the meters to be cleared, the 3/4 meters that we don't have,
The end of the month,
end of this month?
yes.
And the commitment is for them to stay and install whatever they have.
Correct, so right now, what USG is saying is that they would bring this subcontractor to come in and install the remaining 500 meters in the month of April. Is tentatively, and again, if any of this changes, and this will all be included in the letter too. We would notify people, but that is the plan. They would come in and they would like to do all 500. They're same philosophy as us. That's what we paid for. That's what they've committed to do. So they want to complete as much of that as possible too.
So in this letter, we'll be able to give them, you need to have this done by such and such time, or.
Yes.
If you do not have it done, we choose to have, say the water will be shut off, to force them into it. And if it's not done by such and such time, where in fact DPW would have to do it, they will be charged the cost of DPW doing it.
So the letter will state when they're coming, how long, what the deadline is, and what the process is for scheduling. And that's what I'm asking you is what I would like to in that letter say, this is failure to get your meter replaced results in. But yes.
So the scheduling has to be done before April.
Yeah, or before they leave. I mean, they could
But if they don't get there,
potentially,
if USG has an end date of we want to be done by the end of April,
they will set the scheduling date before then.
before then.
Yes, and that'll be included in the letter as well. So, because they're gonna say that that'll all be kind of outlined. This is when we're coming, you have to schedule by this date, we're leaving this date, you have to have your meter installed by whatever that date is.
And we've given, unfortunately, people plenty of time and plenty of letters and, you know, time to get this done. You know, it should be a first come, first served sort of thing, so you get it scheduled to your convenience. Anything about that, there may be some extension in circumstances when people are out of town or whatever, but it needs to get done. This is why we invested in this program and in this utility to try to be more efficient, so
And
we need to get it done.
they've been installing since last fall.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my gosh, it's
And
nothing new.
hopefully we've gotten, you know, the rumor squashed or whatever. We've been more than, you know, accommodating to install the readers outside, et cetera, to try to make people happy, but, you know, sooner or later we have to put our foot down and say, well, it's a drop dead date, let's move forward.
So you have two residents or two homes that are saying they're not gonna do it.
Correct, yes.
Okay. I still struggle in forcing people to do it. As we know, I made a motion a few meetings ago and it failed. I'm still of that persuasion. I would like to work with these people, so that's where I'm at.
You want guidance, you want a decision, what do we?
I would like a decision, even if the decision is nothing, but yes, I do need. Because whatever, if you guys do decide to include something, I'm going to be getting that to USG. They will draft up the letter for us to review and include.
Make a motion to approve USG to add to the final letter for meter replacement a specific time frame with this last round of installations. If they fail to install those meters during that time frame, the water will be shut off and or as well as, let's say that.
I'm gonna say I would do and or.
Right. As well as a fee would be assessed by the village to have our staff install those meters at a later date. Let's start with that and we can narrow it down from there. Got that, Lisa?
Yeah, it's up my side of my paper.
Basically, we're gonna authorize them to draft a letter that includes a final notice to install the new meters in this last round. Once that is completed, they would be responsible. The water would be turned off and a fee would be assessed to have that meter installed at a later date.
I wonder about it, should there be a time frame on that date? Instead of a later date within 60 days? I say that because could there be some of that, well, for their water?
Well, if the water's shut off, there's no meter running.
Oh, right, thank you.
So if they wanna take it into the summer, that's fine. If they wanna take it into the next winter, they're running the risk of freezing their pipes.
Good point. Thank you.
I'm also wondering if we want to add to that, isn't there typically a reconnection or return on fee? When we have to shut off someone's water for not paying their bill?
There is, it's $90 during business hours, it's $180 outside of business hours or after hours.
Well, obviously, we would be having to turn that water back on, so that probably should be added to that letter too.
Yes, so I think it would make a heavier point by saying, get this done. Or you're going to have just a mountain of expenses on this, is really how it's going to work out. That they do not have to pay if they will just comply with this, and this is part of the expectation of living in Blissfield.
I empathize with your thought process too, but with all the technology and stuff, which is what the one couple did, you know. Tell us that, you know, it's the technology and all that stuff when we're sitting here with computers. You know, these, and a multitude of other things that you don't even think about, this being techie with that type of information and technology and the tones and stuff. I'm sitting here right now and I'm hearing squealing in my ears, so I don't know if Mars is trying to get a hold of me, but about this time every night, I did it.
We've got a motion on the floor with there. Do you want, does anyone want a second or wanna?
I will, I support.
And does that include, Eric, the friendly amendment for the water turn on fee as well?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, and then you're seconding with that
Yes.
addition, correct? Okay.
Include that shortly read it.
Want me to read it?
I sure do.
I have approved USG to add to the final letter for meter replacement a specific time frame which meter shall be installed and notice a failure to do so resulting in the water service being shut off. A fee assessment for village staff to install the meter at a later date and the water turn on fee. And I can speak that if make it sound a little bit, but I was trying to type as you were talking. But I think that generally covers what you said.
I think potentially you're looking at, you know, like $150, $250 fee if people aren't willing to do this, if they're gonna get shut off, because by the time you send out a DPW rep, the truck costs, you know, man hour costs, that stuff builds up, so you're tacking that on there along with the reconnect fee, et cetera. I think people need to just realize, you know, we need to get off the pot here and move forward with the project, and get it done, unfortunately. Again, I do feel with people, but it is the technology and it's gonna take for itself, it's gonna make it more time for it to be done.
And part of the grace that's written into our motion here is that this isn't to be done during the winter time. Because we could be real snotty and say we're gonna shut it off now. And by waiting until late March or whatever, I mean, we will see the letter, correct, before,
Yes, we will.
okay, so. There's already grace written into this decision that I think that we're about to make. That it isn't going to be done in the winter. But just like there are many other things that we are forced to comply with. I understand the sentiment. I think I may have said something like this from that podium. I'm from Michigan. I was born in Texas. And my last name is Nichols. And in my family, you don't tell us what to do. You suggest it. So I totally understand, totally get it. But there are things that we have to do to be part of the community. And that's where our ultimate choice is. Are we going to be part of the community or not? And no one's forced to live here. But here, there are things that we do not like and will not like. And unfortunately, this is one.
I don't like taxes, but we all.
I'm with you, sister.
Oh, we all- Right.
Anybody else? No, all right, Lisa, we'll call roll on that.
Gwen,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Motion carries. It's not to say that we won't work with people, we certainly want to do that, but again, we need to get this. Reports, anything for the administrator or from the administrator? Danielle, you good?
I'm good. I tried to include a brief summary, and I think my weekly summaries give you guys a little bit more, but
Appreciate that. Anything for police chief?
I do. For you. At.
You love that, that touch your.
So did the diet.
No, actually, as I was reading your police report, to answer your question regarding the violation or the ordinance violation, you have a heck of a high number on there. And I was like, in your comparison from 24 or 23 to 24, and I was finding up, and I had totally forgotten with the revision, and that's your numbers are right there. I can't find it offhand, but if you ask, Chief, I know he can find it, but there's a distinct difference between 23 and 24 and the amount of violations that are there. So that, I mean, proof is in the pudding. You got it right here.
One of the things that we didn't talk about, right now, all of the local ordinances, none of them are in our Clemens system, which is where we write the tickets electronically. So any of the local ordinances right now, we have to handwrite them on the old carbon copy tickets. We're working with the attorney right now to get all those revisions, particularly the traffic ones, so that I can send those to traffic court. The process is there. They just need us to send them the information, and they'll be able to put all those ordinances in the computer system for us. So we can generate tickets right there in the car, be a lot quicker and easier to cite the, to write the citation. So we're working on that too. So there's a lot of problems, a lot of moving parts on the back end of that stuff.
Always love to see the data. The data is awesome, like when Mary had done the data for the,
It takes a lot of work. I mean, or even with the RMS system, which it's great, it gives me a ton of that data.
well,
Still trying to, dress it up and put it into a format that's a little bit easier to read sometimes.
no, I really like that because again, in the pudding, you can see the numbers, they don't lie. It's right there, very clear.
That's our report card.
Yeah, it is. Totally agree. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the yearly report, chief. It does show, again, a lot of reduction, a lot of negatives, a lot of lower numbers, so that's good. That means, crime is down and you guys are doing your job, and again, people may not see it, but we like that, we appreciate that, so thank you. Thank you. Any from the treasurer? No. Any council discussion? Anybody? I see with the newer list serve emails that we're getting, I like that a lot, and that's cool. That's a good tool. I think, again, people asking questions and we can throw out questions. Again, nobody's reinventing the wheel, so let's learn what other municipalities are doing, much like we discussed the sick leave thing, what kind of municipalities are doing that. Again, let's learn off each other, let's utilize it. It's nice to see questions kind of bounce off to each other, municipalities, so I think that's a good tool that we should continue to utilize. I also, me took a walk underneath the bridge, the pedestrian bridge, so if you guys want to see this. This is off of one of the main girders, and I think that's, you know, whether that's patina or whether that is actual steel, again, I'm not an engineer. But it's not just the stringers, yes, the walk footbridge there, and that's off one of the main stringers, there's a ton of stuff underneath that bridge so that we need to get taken, you know, into account. Again, I want to hold our feet to the fire and get the engineers in here and say, this is what we gotta do.
We've got that on
It's not pretty, so.
the list there, Daniel, of. Yeah.
That laying on the ice.
There's pieces of that's actually, I just pulled that off one of the main stringers. Like, again, you know, I just want a clear cutting answer of what do we gotta do. Move forward with it. That's all I had. You guys have anything?
I know.
No. You know, just catch up, Danielle, I guess, you know, just the things that have been on the radar, you know, we've talked about, you know. Open up water lines, like the Riga second line, that kind of stuff, it just seems like we spin our wheels and we talk about it. You know, again, it's things that are beyond our control, but. I really want to be observant, you know. Pick this stuff off the list, you know, what do we gotta do to move forward with these kind of things?
And we have been checking in with them regularly, if not monthly. Trying to see if we can get some changes, and I know Nora had a really good discussion with our Eagle representative last week about that exact thing, but. That is, it's something that's on our radar and we continue to have discussions, but it is outside of our.
Yeah,
control,
again, you know, they're very nitpicky on us, we have to invest a lot of money back into our infrastructure, but. You know, when we invest that money in the infrastructure, they're not giving us the answer, they're not allowing us to utilize. The capacity that we've invested back in it, so again. It's ugly and starting frustrating, so, you know, what is the next step to say? What do we gotta do to this, are things, and let's move forward and let's come up with solutions here, so. I think the public's expecting us to be. You know, move faster than the speed of government and a lot of this stuff, and there's things that I think we want to do, so. No fault, you know, not pointing fingers at anybody here, but it's just a statement that. I would like to see things move a little bit.
He's so happy to check some stuff off my list.
Committee of the whole meeting for next week, we've got a meeting with the River Racing Festival, obviously, so I have your questions for that. Anything we want to add?
My assumption is that, when we do the committee, we're gonna go ahead and have those tables.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
That's yes.
Everybody gonna be here next week?
I don't
Yes.
have any.
Thanks. If you got any questions, send them on to Danielle or whatever, we'll ask the festival committee about. We do have a recommendation possibly to go into closed session, is that still a request?
It is, but yes.
Yes,
Thank
you want to do public, oh, I missed it, didn't I? Sorry about that. Second public comment. Anybody that cares to address council? Yes, Jackie, if you could stand to the podium,
I just
please.
want to bring to everyone's attention that there is a Red Cross blood drive on Thursday at the Legion. So if you can, if you're able, please sign up and donate and tell people and spread the word.
You know what time, Jackie?
It starts at 11:30 to 5:15
That's this Thursday?
this Thursday. You'll be there. Thank you very much. It's important.
Sure. Anybody else from public? Charbeck, yes.
Ask a question, when was that, small bridge built? That's piece of falling off, do you have any idea?
98 or 99, I believe, right around there.
It's been that long.
Yes.
Wow.
Good.
Okay, so I want to know, so. We don't have any kind of warranty on it or anything, you know, it's supposed to last a certain amount of years, yeah.
Correct. And it's actually beyond its lifespan.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
I was just curious, boy, how time flies.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you bet. Appreciate it. Sorry, council, anybody else? Discussion? No public? No? Okay, you do want to move into closed session then?
Yes, please.
All right, so it's going to be to discuss, specific pending litigation. That is a request. You need a motion for the second.
Move to go into closed session at 7:19 pursuant to MCL 15.268, section 8E. To consult with its attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation, but only if an open meeting would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the public body.
I will support that.
Motion one, second, Eric, to move into closed session. 7:19 pursuant to MCL 15.268. Sarah with, consult with attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with specific pending litigation. Lisa, call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries. All right.
We will be locking the doors again, and then once everything is finished, if you want to say, we will open them up and I'll kind of peek out and look for anybody waiting, that would like to come back with us.
we will restart Zoom at that time also.
Thanks, everybody.